Hi, my name is Aaron Michael Spivey. I'm from Rifle, Colorado, and for the past 2 years I've been in a private war with the Grooming Gang based out of Pitkin and Garfield County, Colorado. In this video, be about 10 minutes is what I'm aiming for. I'm going to be explaining how a co-victim of mine, a young man named Alex Williamson, was framed by this Grooming Gang as a sex offender. I will be naming all 9 of the Grooming Gang members who I have identified as being in full participation, full knowledge, and in full profit of their criminality. I'm joined today by Roughneck. Thank you for joining me. Roughneck has approximately 30 years experience as a mental health professional. Unfortunately, if I were to give you her credentials, that would really narrow down who she is. We're keeping it a secret. When it comes to the second half of this recording, I'll go over why they need to be held confidential. My life is threatened, and anyone who helps me, the threat was also leveled at anyone who helps me. So they are not doing this without potential harm. I'm also joined by Starbearer, who's just a little bit over there. Hey, Starbearer. Starbearer has about 20 years experience as a patrol and investigative officer at the state level. And I've gone over, from beginning to end, about 80% of this. My intent is to go over as much as I can, so there's probably a little bit that you haven't heard that you're going to end up hearing here. One thing I wanted you to read. Go over that. I didn't show that to you before. And I was, we'll talk about that in a second. I have been writing letters for 2 years about this Grooming Gang. I have I've had at least 20 encounters with law enforcement. I have no love for these people anymore. The law enforcement, I mean. Ricochet insults only, Starbearer. Wait till I get cooking. I do not like these people. I forced the 9th Judicial District to actually formally interview me. I did this because I said the following. If my 14th Amendment protections are denied me, or if the law or the lawman is incapable or unwilling to protect me from malicious people, the Constitution of the United States is framed in a fashion so that I, the citizen, can take it upon myself to protect myself. And then we can have a jury trial and figure out the truth of it. They didn't like that. That is the only reason they interviewed me. They have been ignoring me from the beginning, despite the evidentiary nature of this framing. I was calling the methodology and philosophy that they use pinning. I was unaware that it was a thing that criminals do. I did not know they were a grooming gang until his investigators named them as a grooming gang. And yet, Alex Williamson is still labeled a sex offender. And I still do not have protection from these people. That is not acceptable, and it will not continue. The members of this grooming gang are as follows, in order of seniority. Now, after 2 years of writing letters, being ignored by law enforcement, I investigated them myself. I answered 2 questions. First of all, I was threatened with the following statement by a member of this grooming gang, Brendon Bolton, who is the person who framed Alex. The threat was this: Alex fell off the map. Even his friends haven't heard from him. I knew that to be a threat. I investigated it. The second part of what I investigated was, what is the scope that I'm up against? As, here we go, the pig trash have no interest in protecting me from these people. None whatsoever. And they have no interest in clearing Alex's name, despite the evidential nature of his framing. I investigated their scope. Who, what are they doing? How are they doing it? What is their profit? And more importantly, what is their methodology and philosophy? Now I was calling this pinning. The members of the Grooming Gang are Frank McSwain Jr. He is the leader of this Grooming Gang. He is the front, let's call it, for lack of a better word, is his business, McSwain Builders LLC. They specialize in in civil law and civil construction fraud, breaking civil law for profit. And that is the motive for Alex Williamson's framing. And we'll get to that here in a moment. Frank McSwain Jr., leader of the Grooming Gang. Next in line is a man named Jaime, who lives in Rifle. I call him Jaime the countertop crook or Rifle. Countertop material swaps and fake stone swaps is their main source of illicit income. Again, they do civil construction scams. That is their source of income. Next in line, okay, Junior, Jaime. Next in line would be Shea Sweeney, a project manager. I refer to Shea Sweeney and Jill Johnson, another project manager, as social engineers. That's really their job. Do they do project management? Yes. But what they do is they influence people in order to induce predation. They do that to their clients, wealthy folks here in our valley, who they do remodels for, and people like me and Alex, who just end up working for them and finding out too much. And then we get framed or get our life threatened, life ruined. When we get to my part of this, it'll be about an hour for me to go through everything. Let's focus on Alex. Let's get this Alex framing out of the way. That is the crux of this. Not one gets you nine. So, Frank McSwain Jr., Jaime the countertop crook rifle, Shea Sweeney, Jill Johnson, Brendon Bolton. Brendon Bolton is the one who actually physically framed Alex Williamson. I did the investigation myself. I know it to be true. Ryan Williams. And then it would be William Bill Clay. William Bill Clay's son is I call him Sidehorn. He's got a giant cyst on his neck. The boy saw it off. And their attorney. Their attorney's name is Macklin J. Henderson. Macklin J. Henderson is not an attorney, he's a criminal. He's in full knowledge and participation and profit of grooming gang activities. Not an attorney, criminal. So, motive first or how it was done first? Motive first, you think? Okay. So the motive is really simple to understand, and it's public information. So you at home, you can go ahead and make phone calls and figure it out for yourself just like I did. Just to make it easy on everybody, the Crestwood condo in Snowmass Village, owner's name is Layden. Their condo tested positive for asbestos. Removing drywall from a 3,000 square foot condo, removing asbestos from a 3,000 square foot condo is extremely expensive. So what they did is they cheated. They faked a state permit and posted it. The state has no knowledge. By all means, call the state and ask. Layden property, Crestwood condo. Is there an asbestos permit? They will say no. They did this so that the expensive part is the asbestos abatement contractor. Very, very expensive. Then you have to get rid of all the asbestos, which is also very expensive. What they did instead is they didn't do any of that. They did have an asbestos abatement contractor do about 8 feet by 40 feet. So about 240 square feet of drywall. That's it. And the rest of the condo was gutted. All the asbestos was dumped illegally at Pickens County landfill. Doing the math on how much those fines would add up to is pretty strenuous math. I got to $235,000, and I said, what am I doing? Why am I doing the math on what their fines need to be if this got to court? So I stopped. It's over $200,000 worth of fines. Alex Williamson was a carpenter on this job. And he was let go, and he was not paid his last paycheck, so he started making a stink. Brendon Bolton befriended him. Brendon Bolton was the project manager for this job. Brendon Bolton shares financial culpability with Frank McSwain Jr. Frank McSwain Jr. was the GC for this job. Project manager and GC, those are the two people who would pay the fines for this asbestos abatement scam. Brendon Bolton befriends Alex Williamson. Alex Williamson was functionally homeless while we worked together. He lived in a contractor's trailer there at the job site. Slept in there, made his breakfast in there, the whole deal. And after he was let go, Brendon Bolton gave him a place to park his trailer. How nice of him, right? In essence, Brendon Bolton leveraged a fake friendship in order to predate on Alex Williamson. So that if Alex Williamson doesn't make any noise about the project, then they don't get found out for all of their construction scams. That is literally the reason why Alex Williamson wears the title of sex offender. Not the only reason, actually. The second reason is because this guy doesn't want to say, yeah, I got duped. Pig trash. That's all this guy is. I hate these people. I really do. One of the problems that you have when you're trying to articulate this grooming methodology is there's so much history before you understand that they're criminals that you explaining it to someone, it's like you're bringing them in on season 4 of Game of Thrones. Well, what happened in season 3? Well, you have to go through everything to get there. I'm going to do my best to do that on the second part, but for this one, Brendon Bolton was the project manager. He leaves. Alex Williamson leaves, ends up with Brendon Bolton. Brendon Bolton frames as a sex offender. When I go over my part of it, I'll validate why I say this. I know it to be fact, and as such, I'll state it as fact, that Frank McSwain Jr. is also a black hat hacker. This is going to be important information because how do you know if there's a police sting going on in order to frame the young man? Well, if you know the dark web well enough, you'll know there's places on the web where when these police stings get found, they get posted. The information for them gets shared, traded, sold. So, Brendon Bolton keeps Alex Williamson in hand by controlling his living situation. This is Grooming 101. And Frank McSwain Jr. says, hey, here's a police sting we can frame him with. And it was that easy. Brendon Bolton has control of his living situation, pretends to be Alex Williamson online, and Alex Williamson wears the label of sex offender the rest of his life. I was calling this philosophy and methodology pinning. His investigators are who informed me this is grooming. They named the methodology that they used to frame the young man, and yet they refuse to act. No, this will not be. You can't give them any wiggle room, none whatsoever. Good people want you to pay attention. This grooming methodology, it is very good at first deflecting the lawmen away from their duty. That would be a charitable view would be to say that this grooming methodology deflects the lawmen away from doing their duty. Here I don't see it that way. I think they were pig trash to start with, and that this grooming is just going to be their excuse. They were shit from day one, and the grooming just exposed them. That's all it is. I'm sorry, but if there's a fact and verifiable framing, and you refuse to act, because it's embarrassing for you, you have no place having any public trust. Period. This framing, the course of my investigation, I summed up into 33 points. All 33 points that I used that laid out from target selection, selecting both Alex and myself for this grooming. Target selection is extremely important for grooming. You need to have the right setup in order to victimize someone in this way. 33 points of fact and verifiable information, starting from both of our hirings to Alex Williamson being framed as a sex offender. And to me, having a civil case held against me as a stalker by another one of these Grooming Gang members that I'm not going to call her a lady. I don't even want to call her a woman. I don't know. What would be a good neutral, not those option? An ugly old hag. Just person. Okay, this person. You're nicer than I am. This person. Give you an example here. So I never had any sexual interest in Jill Johnson. She's 61 years old. She's not my type. She was a lot of fun to work with. She is very charming. She's funny. And she was an amazing project manager. And I wanted to learn how to be a project manager. That's what I valued her for. She did not accept that. She would do things like this to me. This is on Tuesday, February 14th. Take note of that date. Hi, good morning. I'm dropping my foreigner off at Toyota. I'm wondering if I can get a ride to the office. I'm on your way up. Please call me. Now, she's my boss, so obviously I'm going to go give her a ride, right? That's what nice people do. Give your boss a ride, sure. I didn't know it was Valentine's Day, and I didn't know that she would be in the parking lot at Toyota in her pajamas. Why is she in her pajamas? Oh, she's just going to hang out at the office all day. That's why she's in her pajamas. So I'm picking her up on Valentine's Day in her pajamas. It was actually the interactions between Jill Johnson and myself that induced his investigators to say grooming, that they are a grooming gang. The same methodology is what they use this is sexual grooming. This, with Alex Williamson, it was grooming for exploitation. Mildly different, but the methodology maps onto both forms of criminality. So don't get caught up on, well, the sexual grooming is different from grooming. It's not really. Just the goal of the groomer changes depending on what they want out of the victim. Jill Johnson wanted to have sex with me. Brendon Bolton wanted Alex Williamson to be sentenced as a sex offender so that he wouldn't be able to expose the financial, the civil crimes that they profit from. This framing, when I say I investigated this myself, I'm not being flippant with my words. I spent weeks running things down, asking questions, looking for people, like a real investigation. And the result of that investigation was 33 points that prove evidentiary that Brendon Bolton went out of his way to maintain Alex Williamson's trust. Grooming works off of trust. If you do not trust these people, they can't hurt you. To gain Alex Williamson's trust, to control his living situation so that he would be in place to be preyed upon, to be murdered, framed, whatever their end goal is, he's in place. All they have to do is pull the trigger on that. It blows me away that I reverse engineer this, call it pinning. I've done a lot of homework on what grooming is, the grooming gangs in Europe. I've done that. Harvey Weinstein, how he operated. He was a groomer. The only reason he was able to get away with basically raping women for 20 years was because he did the preparation. Grooming, by the way, what makes a groomer is preparing for criminal activity. Grooming, to my mind, has basically a three-part definition. It's about leveraging fake relationships. It's about preparing for future criminality. You do this through social manipulation to prepare the victim for the eventual victimization through social manipulation. And that is what they did. It just blows me away. I don't know, maybe I'm patting myself on the back too much that I was able to survive this, reverse engineer what they were calling it. Yeah, I wasn't calling it grooming, I was calling it pinning, but what I have been describing to the law enforcement for 2 years straight, including the state attorney, and we'll get to that in a second, is a grooming gang methodology. That's what I had been writing about. I just been calling it pinning. Now I know better. They're a grooming gang. So why not just, overthrow his conviction? It's been proven that he was framed. Why not do it? See, law enforcement gets invested in their image. To them, image is everything. And so for a citizen like me who thinks they ain't nothing but pig trash, because that's all they are, oath-breaking big trash. That's no good, right? Well, how many agencies were involved in the police sting that Frank McSwain Jr. and Brendon Bolton used to frame Alex Williamson? I have a list of them here. It is Mesa County Sheriff's Office, Grand Junction Police Department, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Federal Bureau of Investigation. Caveat to that, the FBI only gives technical information and software support. They don't actually do the investigating. So the FBI didn't get duped. They just helped produce the sting operation. Homeland Security investigators and the 21st Judicial District Court. And I believe he was sentenced in the 9th Judicial District Court. This guy, who says, no, that kid gets to be a sex offender because he wants to get reelected. People think find out part don't apply to them. That offends the hell out of me. So this framing is extremely easy to understand. Get Alex's trust. And this starts from target selection. This methodology starts from the moment the groomer meets you. They already know what they want out of you. They already know what they're going to do with you if you get out of line. Everything is prepared. That's what makes them groomers. This is extremely easy to understand. And again, this combined with my experience with this grooming gang, especially Jill Johnson's section trying to basically trick me into bed. She tried like 5 times. So being the first time, I mean, again, she's 61. Maybe that makes me a bad person, but I'm not dating a 61-year-old. I'm not that interested in money, so it doesn't matter if she's rich. I'm not that interested. And I mean, she never heard of the word sunblock. So she looks like she's 81. It's rough. And we'll, if you can be so kind as to stay tuned, I'd appreciate it. We'll talk to, not yet. I have to, my outro. I'm almost ready. Young man, you were absolutely positively framed. I proved it evidentiary. They've been victimizing me as well. It is fact and verifiable. I have supplied both sheriffs, the 9th Judicial District, who I forced them to interview me because I told them I will smoke these people myself and nothing's changed. We'll get to that. And also the state attorney. For the state attorney, I made a packet of printouts of all these text messages of grooming, every piece of data that I can put together, and then a narrative describing both of our co-victimizations, not just mine, a third party's co-victimization, and it was ignored. All of these people are pig trash. If I failed my duty to an 1/8 that they have done collectively, I would have been in Leavenworth. I would have never been a medical professional again. I would have been drummed out of the military. But if you're pig trash, apparently it's okay. Not acceptable. Comeuppance are coming. One way or the other. Young men, you need to go to the U.S. Marshal's office. They have one there in Denver. My understanding is that when you were framed, you ran away to Denver to get away from them. I have not spoken to you. I guess I'm telling the audience as well. Alex and I have not spoken since the last day of his farm. I have not seen that kid since then. He's a young man. He's 25. He's not really a kid, but I call him a kid anyway. Young man, you need to go to the U.S. Marshal's office. Apparently, it's in everyone in the state of Colorado's best interest that you stay a sex offender, despite this shit being proven evidentiary. Go to the U.S. Marshals. They are most certainly not pig trash. They have a long history of being the best law enforcement organization in the United States of America. My understanding is you can count on one hand, despite their hundreds of years of existence, on one hand, the amount of corrupt U.S. Marshals that have ever existed. No other law enforcement agency in the country can claim to have that degree of professional consistency. They will know what grooming is. They will know what framing is. Ask them, can I please have my Fourth Amendment protections back? I was framed, a third party has proven it evidentiary, and you need protection, young man. You're a felon right now. You can't have a firearm. They will absolutely positively kill you. They threatened my life, and they've made attempts using this grooming gang methodology on me. We're going to go over that in my part. It's just the only difference is I'm harder to kill than most of them. You think it's enough? Go to the marshals, young man.